Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to NAUI's Dive Team Report. I'm your host, Greg Martin, and yes, I'm still a little bit under the weather. I know last week I sounded like I'd been, under pressure for a while, I guess maybe we could say. Finally coming out of it. Did not get in the water this last week either because of, worries about reverse blocks and so forth. Talking about reverse blocks and those kind of things is part of a good training regimen. You need to know all these different things before you just go out and jump into the water. And I have been a fan of NAUI training ever since day one that I wound up getting to be a NAUI dive master. I guess at first off, I started as a NAUI master diver a number of years back, and it just the training was so good. And then became a NAUI dive master, and of course now being a NAUI instructor. It doesn't matter what class you teach the basics, and I just love that. Terrence Tysall is with us, who is now the Director of Training for NAUI. Took the place of Randy Shaw for, I guess maybe some small shoes to fill, weren't they there, Terrence?
Oh, yeah, boy, that's a incorrect statement if there ever was one. Yeah, Randy is just a legend in the industry, and certainly in NAUI, he's I think he's officially approached demigod status at this point. But yeah, so I have the thankless job of trying to fill those shoes and carry on what he's given to me, which has been a lot.
But the whole training thing, I mean, NAUI has always been about training, and that is the high peak to keep on top of is the best training that there is. And I've heard good things about you, my friend. I know you're continuing, the good training methods and so forth. Talk a little bit about how you're approaching this once you've jumped into this pair of shoes, this chair.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up. It's like any new job. I got to start from the lowest level, which is where's the bathroom, where to go on break. The names of all my coworkers here at NAUI headquarters. I mean, I joke with people that the first time I'd ever visited NAUI headquarters was when I interviewed for the job. So it's been a steep learning curve, and with my military background, I equate it like they always do, which is drinking from a fire hose.
Absolutely, yeah. So talk a little bit about your background, though.
Well, I've been real fortunate. I've been diving effectively all of my life. I learned to dive from an uncle who was a Navy SAR swimmer on board the Shangri-La. Back when I was 8 years old, and just haven't looked back. It's something I've always wanted to do since Jacques Cousteau came into my living room with the Cousteau Odyssey and all the other specials. And it's just I've been absolutely focused on it my entire life. And I've done a couple stints both in the Navy, involved with the dive programs in various levels, and then culminating in the Army, believe it or not, of being an executive officer and then a commander of the 627th Heavy Dive Team that was a National Guard asset out of Texas for years.
I'm ex-Navy. I'm not even going to ask how you made the switch from Navy to Army at this point. So don't even go there, okay? So you've got, again, the position of training director and keeping up to date. That's got to be the big challenge. Keeping the latest and greatest training methods has got to be hard.
Well, it is. It's almost kind of karmic in a lot of sense, because I was, like it or not, good or not, I was kind of what I think to be the archetypical NAUI instructor. I wanted those standards to me by the midnight on January 1, and then I wanted to be left alone. And it's amazing because you do have to keep up with a lot of stuff. So it's humbling to be on the other end of it, because so many people, they call and they take what you say as gospel. So you've got to know your stuff, and it's me learning. And what I tell them, and if you could carry away one thing, is do exactly what I do here at headquarters. If you call me with a training question, I am reaching over with my left hand and I am touching my open standards. That's where everything goes. And remember, those standards are put in place by the board that we elect. And so it's our job to, not even interpret them, but to look at them and make sure that we're all of us, every one of us as a NAUI instructors, following them to the letter.
The beauty, too, with NAUI is that you have that guideline, that standard there in front of you. And that's the bare minimum. I always enjoy the fact if it's the bare minimum of what needs to be done. What you decide to do as an instructor above and beyond that is purely up to you and how you administer those standards, as long as you stick to the standards. That's the beauty of NAUI, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It is wonderful. I mean, we all talk about it, the loved one concept first and foremost, and then of course academic freedom, which is you need to cover this minimum set of topics, but other than that, that course is yours. And one of my previous careers prior to this was working with Texas A&M as their diving safety officer, and what a joy! I got to teach a open water class over an entire semester. So you could just fill these people with knowledge, and so it's wonderful. And all of our instructors can do that. Schedule your courses accordingly, and just fill these people up. And the more knowledge and the more experience they have, the safer they're going to become.
It's interesting. I was recently working with another agency. I won't even go there, but I was working with another agency on a class, doing a little crossover kind of thing, and was teaching this section. And somebody came up to me and they said, you basically taught a NAUI class. I said, I know. It's the better education.
Yeah, you can't get around it. I mean, you find it. I find it using being still in the Army and teaching young officer candidates. The Tom I Pasta thing has been part of being a military instructor for what, 50 plus years.
Sure.
Probably closer to 80 years. And so for me, it's a seamless transition. I can go in using that same NAUI formula and knock a presentation out of the park, teaching a young officer candidate about the law of war, and then turn around that evening and be lecturing to somebody about Boyle's Law in a classroom. So it's great.
Let's talk a little bit about updating of the standards. I know that's a process right now that we've been going through for quite a while at NAUI. And I think folks would like to know, at least the NAUI folks would like to know where we're at this point on making sure basic classes and so forth are all updated.
Well, our current standards, as approved by the board, are the 2017 standards, and those are in on our website and downloadable for everybody. The standards are no longer being charged for, so any member can go and get the latest and greatest up at any point.
Sure.
And just like before, I don't think we're going to come up with yearly updates, but as you remember, in our recent past, we had the 2012 standards, then they were superseded by the 2016s, and of course now we're at the 2017s. So what's really nice is when you open those standards, you're going to see any changes that are different from the last set of standards in kind of a red-orange color that stand out for you. In addition, what I would challenge all of our divers and members to do is next time you're at one of these dive shows, because we've just finished a whole bunch of them here recently, is to go to a NAUI update, because what we'll typically do is distill all of the changes that affect everybody into one kind of nice presentation. And then, of course, your fallback plan is pick up the phone and call myself or Jim Gunderson, the training manager for NAUI. Call either one of us, and we're here to help you. Don't ever think that, you forget your standards at home or whatever. Don't ever think that you can't be without those answers, because you need them.
Always have had the best of luck when I pick up the phone, even before I really knew Randy at the time. Always had the best of luck just picking up the phone and calling and saying, I've got this question. And it's like, great, let's look at it. Let's figure it out. And there was always an answer. And I always walked away from the phone going, wow, that was too easy, just to be able to get that right answer. So what about the training materials themselves? We've moved from the old days of the cassettes, the audio cassettes, the big clamshell packets that we used to send out, to digital these days. Talk a little bit about that and that transition.
Well, yeah, and this is a big, thanks to everybody over in marketing who's kind of shouldered this product development, because it's certainly our goal to go predominantly digital in the near future. And there's always those of us, myself included, that have to have that book in hand. So that's not going to go the way of the dodo. But as an example, with the new scheme of things, we're going to have digital, which is a all digital format, including a digital C card. Then you're going to have the Digital Plus, which is a program that not only includes all of the previously mentioned stuff, but then a hard card, and then of course the Premier Pack, which includes all of the hard books and the printed material as well. Because that's probably what I'll do with my students until they march me out as being a dinosaur. I just love having that physical book in my hands.
Yeah, and I glance over to my shelf right next to my desk here, which is just jam packed with any and all of my diving books, all the way back to, well, I won't even talk about the new science of skin and scuba, because that's you're just a young buck at this point. So
oh, you'd love my library, Greg. I've got a library at home that's being packed because we're getting ready to move our stuff closer to NAUI headquarters, my
Sure.
family and I. But yeah, I've got some old vintage books that are just incredible. The Phrase that put out one, and Better Scuba Diving for Boys and Girls. I mean, some real ancient ones that are awesome. So.
And there are still, actually, speaking of, I mean, if you go back and you thumb through the pages, I mean, obviously there's some real weird stuff in there that just doesn't make any sense anymore, because we don't do anymore. But at the same time, there's just, you talk about basics, and you can go back almost all the way back and check out the basics, and wow, it's all the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's as much as we like to be self-important, I think sometimes older generations must look at us and laugh. I mean, good heavens, the people that first dove the Doria or were diving it on regulators that I have 4 feet in front of me. I've got some double hose sitting in
Yep.
my office, and so they were doing it. And then nitrox was a British military secret in World War II for their rebreather guys, and Trimix used and Heliox first used by some of the U.S. Navy guys on the Squalus prior to World War II. So yeah, even though we like to be all techie and cool and new and fancy, it's not a lot has changed, and the beauty of it is physics. At least unless we have a big change on the planet, isn't going to change. So.
No, it's always going to be the same. Well, we appreciate the job, and sometimes a thankless job, that you and everybody does at NAUI headquarters to make sure that we're all up to date and teaching the absolute best way that we can teach the most wonderful sport, I think, in the world, scuba diving. I've been diving like you for many, many, many moons. And I only see the industry is getting bigger and stronger, and with that, of course, comes the fact of it has to be taught the right way, which is the NAUI way.
You are absolutely correct.
All right, Terrence, best of luck to you in the position, and I know we're going to talk again down the road as things progress here at NAUI.
All right, well, let's do something even more than that. Let's get you healthy, and then let's get in the water together one of these days. How about that, Greg?
I'm all over it. All right, absolutely.
Man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity with this. Thank you so much.
Always. And of course, if you have an interest in learning to scuba dive or taking maybe an advanced class, be sure and check out NAUI.org or check in at your local NAUI dive shop. And of course, I'd love to hear your comments. You can email me here at podcast@NAUI.org. And that's this episode of NAUI's Dive Team Report. As always, I'm Greg Martin. Thanks for listening. I'll see you underwater.